A high-ranking WNBA team owner was just caught on camera doing the absolute unthinkable courtside, and the immediate fallout has sent shockwaves through the entire professional sports landscape. Seattle Storm minority co-owner Celeste Keaton has officially been fined and handed a 5-game home suspension after damning video evidence revealed her confronting, berating, and cursing out two 16-year-old female fans during a high-stakes matchup against the Indiana Fever. The two teenage girls were sitting near the front rows at Climate Pledge Arena, holding up homemade poster boards that read, "Thank you, Sophie, for speaking up for girls," in support of Indiana Fever guard Sophie Cunningham. Instead of welcoming young fans who saved up money to support women's basketball, Keaton marched down to their seats in full view of spectators and unleashed a profanity-laced tirade that left the teenagers in tears and surrounding fans in utter disbelief. As majority owner Ginny Gilder issued a desperate emergency apology to contain the mounting corporate fallout, Sophie Cunningham responded by sending personalized gifts directly to the young fans while publicly labeling the executive meltdown as truly embarrassing. What the WNBA establishment attempted to sweep under the rug courtside has exploded into the biggest executive scandal of the modern women's basketball era. Before we break down every single detail of this executive scandal, if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. We cover every major story, rivalry, and behind-the-scenes controversy across the WNBA as it happens, and you do not want to miss what is coming next. To fully understand how a routine mid-season matchup transformed into an unprecedented corporate crisis, we have to examine the crucial context leading up to the July 28th game between the Indiana Fever and the Seattle Storm in Seattle. Ever since Caitlin Clark entered the league, games involving the Indiana Fever have become massive cultural events, drawing record-breaking crowds, skyrocketing ticket prices, and bringing thousands of first-time fans into WNBA arenas across North America. Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle was completely sold out weeks in advance, with secondary market tickets reaching historic prices as fans traveled from across the Pacific Northwest to witness the Fever in person. For long-standing franchises like the Seattle Storm, the sudden influx of visiting Fever supporters wearing Indiana blue and gold has created palpable tension among legacy team executives, who find themselves watching opposing fans take over their home building night after night. Just days prior to the contest, Indiana Fever guard Sophie Cunningham sat down for a widely watched national interview on ESPN. During that broadcast, Cunningham spoke with unfiltered honesty about Title IX, the protection of athletic opportunities for female competitors, and the absolute necessity of standing up for young girls in sports. Her passionate statements resonated deeply across the nation, particularly among high school student athletes who view Cunningham as a fearless enforcer and authentic leader, both on and off the hardwood. Among those deeply inspired viewers was 16-year-old Annalise Wilson, a high school varsity basketball player from Washington State. Annalise and her best friend had spent several months working part-time summer jobs specifically to save enough money to purchase lower bowl tickets when Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and the Indiana Fever came to town. Inspired by Cunningham's interview, the two teenagers spent the evening before the game carefully crafting two bright poster boards featuring bold lettering that expressed their simple gratitude for Cunningham's advocacy for girls' athletics. When game day arrived, Annalise and her friend entered Climate Pledge Arena early, filled with overwhelming excitement to witness their basketball role models in person. They took their seats in the lower bowl near the courtside railing, proudly displaying their posters as the Indiana Fever squad emerged from the tunnel for pregame warm-ups. The message on the signs was entirely positive, respectful, and focused on celebrating women in sports. There was no derogatory language aimed at the home team, no offensive imagery, and no disruption of the pregame environment. It was the exact type of wholesome grassroots fan engagement that sports leagues regularly highlight in their promotional commercials and broadcast teasers. However, sitting just a few yards away in premium executive courtside seating was Celeste Keaton, a prominent minority investor and co-owner of the Seattle Storm franchise. According to multiple witnesses seated in the section, Keaton noticed the signs almost immediately during warm-ups, and her reaction was instantaneous hostility. Rather than ignoring two teenage girls who were simply showing enthusiasm for an opposing player, Keaton stood up from her seat, her expression cold and defensive, and began marching directly toward the teenagers. What followed was an appalling abuse of authority that stunned everyone within earshot. Without any preliminary inquiry or attempt at polite dialogue, Keaton launched into a furious, unprovoked verbal attack against the two 16-year-old girls right in front of courtside spectators, stadium ushers, and arena staff. According to recorded video audio and corroborated witness statements, Keaton leaned over the railing, pointed her finger directly at the teenagers' faces, and demanded to know who allowed them to display those signs in her arena. When the startled high school students attempted to explain that they were just fans expressing support for Sophie Cunningham, Keaton completely lost her composure. She hurled aggressive profanities at the teenagers, screaming that they were effing insane for bringing those posters into the facility, while aggressively waving her arms to summon arena security officers to confiscate the signs and eject the girls from the building. Nearby spectators in rows 1 and 2 watched in absolute shock as a multimillionaire corporate executive berated two underage fans whose only offense was holding up a poster thanking a female athlete. The emotional impact on the young spectators was immediate and overwhelming. Terrified and humiliated by an adult team owner screaming obscenities in their faces, Annalise and her friend broke down in tears right in the middle of the seating concourse. Stadium security guards, visibly uncomfortable upon realizing that the person orchestrating the scene was a high-ranking co-owner of the home franchise, hesitated to intervene directly against their employer. Seeing the security staff hesitate, surrounding season ticket holders and neutral fans began shouting at Keaton, telling her to leave the young girls alone and calling her behavior disgraceful. Several fans openly confronted Keaton courtside, demanding that she return to her seat and stop harassing minors. Sensing that the situation was escalating out of control, several alert spectators pulled out their mobile phones and began capturing video footage of the aftermath, including Keaton's hostile body language, as she retreated back to her courtside seat while the visibly shaken teenagers were comforted by nearby attendees. Word of the appalling interaction spread like wildfire through the stands during the first half of play. Fans sitting in adjacent sections were outraged that an executive representing the franchise would treat visiting youth attendees with such blatant disrespect. What Keaton seemingly failed to anticipate in her moment of uncontrolled anger was the power of modern digital media. Within hours after the final whistle, footage documenting the confrontation and detailed accounts from eyewitnesses began dominating sports discussion forums, viral social media posts, and online basketball communities. Millions of fans across the country viewed the clips, expressing intense outrage over an owner abusing her power to intimidate children, holding positive signs for women's sports. The public backlash was swift and uncompromising, creating a PR disaster that Seattle Storm management could not ignore. As the viral outcry reached a boiling point overnight, senior officials at WNBA headquarters in New York were forced to convene an emergency crisis meeting. Reports surfaced that corporate sponsors, including major national broadcast partners like NBC and ESPN, began raising serious questions with the league office regarding brand safety and fan treatment. The league office, which routinely builds its corporate marketing around principles of family-friendly entertainment, youth empowerment, and sportsmanship, found itself in an indefensible position. How could the WNBA claim to champion young women while allowing a franchise co-owner to curse out 16-year-old female fans in broad daylight? By the following morning, WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert's office officially announced a formal disciplinary investigation into Celeste Keaton's conduct. Following the swift review of arena footage and witness testimonies, the WNBA issued an official statement announcing that Celeste Keaton had been assessed a substantial financial fine alongside a 5-game home arena suspension. Under the terms of the penalty, Keaton was prohibited from attending team facilities, entering Climate Pledge Arena, or occupying courtside seats during Seattle's next 5 home contests. Seeking to quell the mounting public outrage and salvage corporate relationships, Seattle Storm majority owner Ginny Gilder issued a rushed emergency statement. Gilder expressed deep regret over what she characterized as an unfortunate interaction between franchise leadership and visiting fans, assuring ticket holders that the organization holds its executive staff to the highest standards of professional conduct. Let me ask you right now in the comments below, do you think a 5-game home suspension is an acceptable punishment for a team executive who verbally attacks teenage fans, or is the league protecting its corporate circle? Drop your thoughts below because I read every single comment. Despite the polished press releases and formal apologies, fans, media analysts, and commentators immediately called out the sanitized corporate framing of the scandal. describing a profanity-laced, aggressive tirade against 16-year-old high school students as a mere unfortunate interaction was widely seen as a deliberate attempt to downplay an egregious act of executive misconduct. Analysts quickly pointed out the undeniable double standard at play. If an ordinary ticket-paying fan had used that exact same profanity toward a team executive or player, that fan would have been immediately escorted from the building by police, issued a permanent lifetime arena ban, and potentially subjected to legal harassment charges. Yet, because the perpetrator was a wealthy franchise co-owner, the league opted for a slap-on-the-wrist 5-game home suspension that still allows her to maintain her financial stake, her executive access, and her equity in the team without facing any real long-term accountability. While league officials and Seattle Storm management focused on damage control, Indiana Fever star guard Sophie Cunningham took a firm and decisive stand. Cunningham was informed of the courtside incident shortly after helping lead the Indiana Fever to a thrilling 105-95 victory over the Storm, a game in which Caitlin Clark delivered another magnificent performance, dishing out double-digit assists, scoring key clutch buckets, and controlling the tempo from start to finish alongside scoring contributions from Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston. When journalists questioned Cunningham about the owner's behavior during the post-game press conference, she responded with characteristic directness and zero corporate fluff. Cunningham publicly declared that the executive meltdown was truly embarrassing and completely unacceptable on every level. She emphasized that no young fan, especially a 16-year-old girl who saved her own money to support women's basketball, should ever be subjected to fear, intimidation, or profanity inside a sports venue. Cunningham forcefully stated that professional sports exist to inspire the next generation of athletes, not to serve as a platform for wealthy team owners to exercise petty power trips over children. Her clear, uncompromising remarks struck an immediate chord with fans nationwide who were deeply exhausted by evasive corporate rhetoric. Real quick, if you appreciate independent, unfiltered sports journalism that digs deep into the stories mainstream outlets refuse to touch, consider joining our channel membership. Hit that join button right below the video to get access to exclusive badges, early video releases, and support our independent coverage. Sophie Cunningham's advocacy did not stop at the microphone. Immediately after leaving the podium, she directed Fever public relations staff to locate Annalise Wilson and her family. Once contact was made, Cunningham personally reached out to the teenagers to offer a sincere apology on behalf of the sport, ensuring they knew how deeply their support was appreciated. To transform a distressing event into an unforgettable positive memory, Cunningham personally organized a special package of gifts to be sent to the young fans. The package contained personalized, autographed Indiana Fever jerseys, signed game sneakers, custom team apparel, and exclusive VIP floor seats for Annalise and her family to attend a future Fever road game as Cunningham's personal guests of honor. Cunningham's actions received immediate, unanimous support from her Indiana Fever teammates, including Caitlin Clark. Inside the Fever locker room, players voiced their admiration for Cunningham's refusal to back down in defense of the fans. Clark, who has dealt with unprecedented media pressure, targeted physical play, and hostile environments throughout her groundbreaking career, praised Cunningham's leadership. Clark noted during locker room interviews that fans travel thousands of miles to watch them play, and protecting those fans from disrespectful behavior is a responsibility every player takes seriously. The unified stance taken by Clark and Cunningham underscored a powerful contrast. While league executives were preoccupied with mitigating corporate fallout, the players themselves stepped up to protect the fan base and challenge institutional bullying. The stark contrast between how the WNBA disciplines its players versus how it handles executive misconduct has exposed a glaring structural hypocrisy that cannot be ignored. For years, the league has enforced a rigid zero-tolerance policy against player emotion. Athletes face automatic heavy fines and technical fouls for slamming a ball on the floor, arguing a missed referee call, or expressing mild frustration during press conferences. Players like Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham are frequently assessed technical fouls for simple physical reactions, while missing mandatory post-game media availability results in instant five-figure team penalties. Yet, when a multimillionaire franchise owner engages in an aggressive, profanity-laden altercation with two teenage girls holding peaceful signs, the league issues a light penalty that amounts to little more than a temporary vacation from courtside seats. In leagues like the NBA, owner misconduct involving fans or employees has historically triggered independent investigations, massive multi-million-dollar corporate fines, and forced sales of team equity, as seen in high-profile cases involving Donald Sterling or Robert Sarver. But in the WNBA, a 5-game home suspension simply means Celeste Keaton will miss 5 evenings of public courtside visibility while retaining full corporate influence behind closed doors. She can comfortably watch those games from a luxury suite or her private home, completely insulated from any meaningful financial or structural consequence. If this breakdown is showing you what is really happening behind the corporate curtain of the WNBA, take a second to share this video with another basketball fan who needs to hear the truth. And if you have not subscribed yet, make sure to hit that button right now. When you connect the dots across the entire WNBA landscape, a clear and troubling pattern becomes undeniable. The league establishment acts with relentless severity when penalizing the very players who drive record-breaking television ratings, sold-out arenas, and unprecedented franchise valuations. But when it comes to holding corporate executives and team owners accountable, the establishment closes ranks to protect its own. The dedicated fans who buy tickets, purchase merchandise, and tune into broadcasts every night are the true engine driving women's basketball. Without passionate young fans like Annalise Wilson, the league's explosive growth metrics simply collapse. Seeing a wealthy executive attempt to bully teenage girls simply because their sign praised a player who spoke out for women's sports reveals a disturbing level of corporate entitlement. It demonstrates just how detached certain high-level executives are from the grassroots fans who actually sustain the league. When a league protects its corporate owners over 16-year-old female fans holding signs for women's sports, that is not a misunderstanding. That is systemic hypocrisy. The fallout from this courtside scandal has ultimately backfired on the establishment. Instead of dampening enthusiasm, it has energized the Indiana Fever fan base and solidified Sophie Cunningham's role as a vital protector, alongside Caitlin Clark. Reports are already emerging that fans across the league are planning to bring "Thank You Sophie" signs to upcoming Fever road games in Chicago, Las Vegas, and Connecticut, turning a single executive's meltdown into a league-wide movement for fan respect. As petitions continue to circulate across social media demanding that Celeste Keaton be forced to sell her minority stake in the Seattle Storm, the pressure on WNBA leadership will only continue to intensify. Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and the Indiana Fever have demonstrated once again that real leadership cannot be silenced by corporate arrogance. Their commitment to their fans and their resilience in hostile arenas continue to reshape the future of professional basketball. Subscribe to the Sports Maximum and hit that notification bell right now so you stay ahead of every major update across the WNBA. And tell me down in the comments, do you believe a 5-game suspension is enough for a WNBA owner who cussed out 16-year-old fans? Or should she be forced to sell her ownership stake immediately? Let me know what you think below. I read every single comment. See you in the next story.